Hello, this is the Lord's Legion and welcome to the best villains ever. The show in which I talk about a specific villain and talk about their backstories, abilities, greatest feats, and why I love them so much. Now this episode is loosely an Ant-Man and the Wasp special, but since I've done a lot of Marvel villains as of late, I thought that we may as well just shake things up a bit and focus on a DC villain. And it is especially fitting given how this particular villain is of course a thief. And the villain who we're going to be focusing on in this video is of course Catwoman. And given the recent Batman and Catwoman controversy that happened, I honestly thought that this is perfect timing. So without further ado, let's begin with her backstory. Now when it comes down to Selina Kyle's origin story, it has been altered numerous times, so it is rather tricky into keeping up with what's currently canon. So for the purposes of this video, I'm mainly going to be focusing on the pre-52 Catwoman origin. But essentially, Selina Kyle's early life was defined by tragedy, as when she was a little girl, her brutalised mother Maria committed suicide and her violent father Brian drank himself to death soon after. It also didn't help that Selina was separated from her younger sister Maggie when remaindered to the Sprang Hall Juvenile Detention Centre. Now while Selina was at the Juvenile Detention Centre, she was pretty much abused by the carers as well as some of the other girls. To the point where she eventually found her way to escape the centre and tried pickpocketing the crowd at a carnival outside of Gotham City. However, she was caught and was eventually brought into the carnival where she learned a lot of gymnastics as well as some trickery. Years later, Selina began working as a prostitute in the East End of Gotham City just to get by in life. She watched over an underage girl named Holly Robinson while working for the abusive pimp Stan. But due to one of her confrontations with Stan, Selina Kyle was heavily brutalized and was sent to hospital, where Detective George Flannery took pity on her and sent her to Ted Grand. Once Selina was sent to Ted Grand, he taught her how to defend herself with martial arts. And what's really interesting about this is the fact that Ted Grant is actually Wildcat, and Wildcat is considered by many to be one of the best fighters in the DC universe. And shortly after her training with Wildcat, Selina had spotted Batman fighting for the first time, and that inspired her into donning a new persona. And after all of the drama and training, Selina transformed into the infamous Catwoman. Now looking back on Catwoman's origin, you can't help but feel really sorry for Selina because life never treated her properly. Her parents were taken away from her at a young age, she was heavily mistreated in the juvenile detention centre, not to mention that she was abused sexually, physically and emotionally by several men. But even despite all of that, Selina came back on the other side. And after knowing everything about her origin, you can totally understand on as to why Selina always changes from good to evil. Because understandably, Selina has a lot of trust issues. Now Selina may not have any powers of her own, but what makes Catwoman so dangerous are of course her skills as well as her weaponry. For starters, Catwoman is very acrobatic, in which does make her incredibly fast and agile. But not only that, Catwoman is a very skilled hand-to-hand combatant and knows several different fighting styles. From boxing, jiu-jitsu, karate, dragon-style kung fu, hapkido and capoeira. Not to mention that Catwoman has also mastered stealth, thievery, disguises and strangely of all, feline empathy. Meaning that in some way, shape or form, Selina can communicate with cats. Now in terms of weapons, Catwoman has her trademark claws as well as her whips, metal balls to trip her opponents, B&E gear in order to break into a building, explosives, some form of lasers, knockout gas, and her main form of transport of course being her motorcycle. Now even though Selina isn't necessarily a superhuman, she has still achieved a lot of incredible feats over the years. And since Catwoman did pull off plenty of stunts over the years, I'm just going to be focusing on what I personally think are the most impressive that she has ever done. For starters, Catwoman has taken out a helicopter by pulling on its rear rotor. But not only that, Selina is also capable of cutting steel with her own whip, which does suggest that Selina is in peak physical condition. And speaking of, Selina could effortlessly launch people just by kicking them to the face. And can even hop on extremely high buildings on a regular basis. And can even jump back down regularly without even so much as hurting herself. And plus, Catwoman has once demonstrated her strength by lifting a giant robotic arm, and then using it as her own weapon. Not to mention that Catwoman can also overpower Two-Face during a one-on-one fight. Plus, Selina can strike at someone so hard that she could easily crack the ground. Plus, we also have a pretty insane feat for Selina where she was capable of KOing an octopus underwater. Not to mention the fact that Catwoman is also capable of kicking through a brick wall. Now, in terms of her speed and reflexes, Catwoman can easily evade bullets like no one's business. And what's really impressive is the fact that Selina can hold her own against a group of ninjas, and can keep them on their toes for a relatively long period of time. Plus, Selina once survived the destruction of her apartment, which caused all of the gas lines to explode, as to which Selina came back uninjured and with little to no scratch, at a cost of her costume being ripped to shreds. She can also handle herself against 3 other guys at the same time, and can still come out on top no less. Plus, Catwoman is capable of getting the upper hand against Batman on numerous occasions, which is incredibly impressive given how Batman is considered to be the most skilled hand-to-hand combatant in all of the DC universe. Plus, she can easily hold her own against Hellhound and even knocked him out. Catwoman is also capable of going toe-to-toe with Tim Drake Robin, who many deem him to be the most skilled out of all of the Robins. Plus, Selina is also capable of going toe-to-toe with a 2-ton sapient gorilla, and she almost beat Mr. Freeze, who many people deem him to be one of the most dangerous villains within Batman's rogues gallery. She also killed Black Mask in cold blood. And last but not least, Catwoman is capable of sneaking behind Talia al Ghul, who is known to be one of the most skilled assassins in the DC universe. Now, it's no secret that Catwoman has appeared quite a lot in other mediums. For starters, Selina was one of the most regular reoccurring villains in Batman the Animated Series, and the series really do play up with Selina's mysterious persona, because you could never really tell whether this version of Catwoman was good or bad, which is pretty much Catwoman at her core. Plus, we also have the new 52 Catwoman, who didn't really change so much despite her origin, and even with some of the bizarre changes that they did with the character, none of them really stuck, and even then she was more or less redeemed thanks to DC's Rebirth. Not to mention that Catwoman is also one of the main characters in the Arkhamverse, and this is quite possibly one of my favourite renditions of the character, because similarly to how she was in the animated series, Catwoman keeps shifting from good to bad, and you can never really be sure on what her true intentions lie. And we also have the Selina who appears in the Telltale series, who I also really enjoy because she is a lot more humanized than most other versions of Selina Kyle. Mainly because we can see a lot more things through her perspective and we can understand her decisions. Now, in terms of live action, none can compare to Michelle Pfeiffer, who appeared in Batman Returns. Yes, they took a lot of liberties with her character as well as the fact that she was crazier, but she was still very sympathetic regardless, and I especially loved her more sinister side. Plus, she also has the best costume in live action. Plus, we also have Anne Hathaway, who appeared in The Dark Knight Returns, and I thought that she did a pretty good job. And I did enjoy that she was more like an anti-hero than a straight up villain. And finally, we have Cameron Bicondova, who appeared in the Gotham TV series, and even though I'm not up to date with Gotham, I do think that she does a pretty good job as a younger Selina. Now, to me, Catwoman is very appealing in a lot of ways, because Selina can be seen as very mysterious, but once you delve deep into her backstory, you can't help but feel the pain that she's been through. And the fact that she can bounce back to the other side and become this more confident supervillain that we all know and love just comes to show how strong-willed Selina really is. And it perfectly explains on as to why Selina keeps shifting from good to evil, because she can never fully trust anyone because of how messed up her origin was. And in turn, Selina keeps herself away from everyone else so that she can just focus on herself. So because of her really tragic origin story, as well as the fact that she is a really influential and interesting villain, not to mention her really cool feats that she's pulled off over the years, this is why I personally think that Catwoman is one of the best villains of all time. So are you a huge fan of Catwoman, and what are some of your personal favourite versions of Selina Kyle? Comment below and share some thoughts. And as always, thank you guys for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. Take care and have a good one.